MMA fighters as video game characters. Since this is 100,000% without a doubt my real voice, you could probably assume that I play a lot of video games myself. I also watch a lot of the UFC, and I don't know what it is about those guys, but they just give off an energy that feels like they should be in a video game. Like their own game. I'm not stupid. If you came here for a UFC analysis video, that is not what this channel is for. Go watch Bedtime MMA or Lucas Tracy. Let's get right into it. First up is the debatable GOAT himself, Jon Jones. If you know anything about the UFC, you know how good this guy is, but you also know he's just the ultimate super villain. Him and P. Diddy have definitely had a conversation on how to take over the world. Love him or hate him, the guy's just overpowered and super hard to beat. Jon Jones is 100% the final boss of the UFC, and there's no better wombo combo of a super villain and the final boss than Sephiroth. And Sephiroth is the guy that everybody wants to beat, but nobody can really seem to do it. I mean, dude can wield magic and he has this big ass sword. Like, why do you need both? Kinda like how Jon Jones can mix up the wrestling, the striking, the grappling. And without spoiling Final Fantasy for you, even though the game is 1,000 years old, Sephiroth definitely has a controversial past. And if you know anything about Jon Jones, his middle name is Controversy. Despite all the bad things Jon Jones has done, he's undeniably good at what he does. Even though no one likes to admit it, I think that people sort of like the bad things that he does because it's a little bit different. Sort of like Sephiroth. Sephiroth will go down in history as one of the greatest video game villains of all time. You either love him or love to hate him. Regardless, I'll be rooting for Johnny Boy as long as he keeps the needles out his butt and his hands off his girl. Next up, we've got the notorious Conor McGregor. This one was a no-brainer. The only video game character that I've ever known to make me laugh with their shit talk and still put the hands on you is Johnny Cage. I mean, the similarities between the two are kinda crazy. Conor McGregor is one of the most famous, if not the most famous MMA fighter of all time. And it's not just because his hands are weapons, it's because his mouth is one too. Hey, I know everyone remembers this moment.
Fucking move. They're not... Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat series is a literal movie superstar, and there are whole videos on YouTube dedicated to just showcasing Johnny Cage's one-liners. They're both flashy, loud, and pop culture icons for the worlds that they live in. The last similarity between the two is that they both seem to have a fall from grace, both always getting into trouble because of their egos. I don't know if Johnny Cage has an active lawsuit for getting too handsy off the white stuff, but definitely doesn't shy away from saying things about women.
Oh, I got eyes, brother.
As younger you, I solemnly swear to tap that at the earliest opportunity.
Next up, we got the dog diddler, Israel Adesanya. Now, it'd be super easy for me to pick an anime character, an avatar or something like that, but I chose not to do that. And the video game character I picked for Izzy is Bayonetta. Now, before you start asking questions, let me explain. Now, I used to play this game, and if you've ever played this game, you know that Bayonetta just has a different aura to her. She has guns in her shoes, she's always doing backflips and shit. And for some reason, I can just see Israel Adesanya hitting this pose right here. She's still cool though. Her main line is, as long as there's music, she'll keep on dancing. And who's always doing their best impression of Happy Feet in the UFC? This guy right here. All jokes aside, it's this playful but deadly energy that they both have that make them both really hard to stop watching. They're both unpredictable, stylish, and even a little bit zesty. Alright, next up we got the UFC's poster boy, Alex Pereira. Now this comparison's a little bit different considering how popular Alex Pereira is, but you gotta hold on, let me explain. Now for all you children out there, you might not know what I'm talking about, but for all my unks, do you remember this game? Now, the Big Daddy used to scare the absolute fuck out of me. And for all my youngsters, yes, this is called the Big Daddy. Now, although Big Daddy might be your nickname for Alex Pereira, it used to be a boss or several bosses in a game called BioShock. Now that I'm a little bit older, I understand that these were just like diving suits, but when I was a kid, I didn't know what the fuck this was. All I remember is I was having nightmares about it. That's it. But you know who else is having nightmares? All the guys who get flatlined, knocked out, and sent to the Shadow Realm by Alex Pereira. Mind you, these things don't say anything. They're just kind of violent. Now, the purpose of these big daddies is to protect these other things called little sisters I'm not even gonna explain what the little sisters are because the game is kind of deep. But for the sake of this video and comparison, I'm just calling Alex Pereira Big Daddy because he's big, scary, doesn't say anything, and then protects his little sisters, which is all his little fans to say chama, chama, chama. Alright, this next one is a heater. You're gonna love it. Now, Ilia Topuria is one of the fastest growing superstars in the UFC right now. There was really only one video game character that I could associate with Ilia, and I think it's spot on. That character would be Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed. I feel like a super genius for this one. How do you not understand this comparison? If you don't, you're an idiot. I really shouldn't even have to explain this one just purely off vibes alone. So if you just crawl from under a rock to watch this video, Ezio is an assassin who can travel through time. And for some reason, Ilia Topuria is that. Dude, if you step into the ring with Ilia Topuria, you're going down. Just seems like Ilia can make the impossible possible. No one ever thought Max Holloway would get knocked out. Who does it? This guy. No one ever thought Alex Volkanovski would get knocked out. Who does it? This guy. And mind you, this guy's still in his 20s. I just feel like Ilia was sent from the future to destroy my favorite fighter, and it's not fair. And they're both handsome European men. That's besides the point. Anyways, last but not least, I want to talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now this one's kind of obvious too. Some of you may have already guessed it. Now if you were to think of a video game character who's disciplined, stoic, family-oriented, and just a bad motherfucker, who's the first person that you think of? You guessed it, Sonic the Hedgehog. No, I'm kidding, it's Kratos from God of War. Now there's a whole list as to why you can compare these two, but the one characteristic that stood out to me the most is the fact that they both have a creed that they live by. These two are definitely just the type of guy to want to get something done and totally get it done. Now I know some people say his 29-0 record isn't that great because of the wins that he has, but he's still 29-0. And if you're gonna ask me, it's pretty godlike to do that in a sport like MMA, and let alone the UFC. And Khabib is usually a pretty calm guy, but don't get him pissed off. I'll never forget him asking Conor McGregor to have a conversation with him as he's beating his face in.
Let's talk now.
And man, do I love watching Khabib be a cornerman for Islam, because it seems like he even gets more excited for his wins than Islam does. And that's just what family is supposed to do, no matter how much staph infection you get. Alright, and that's it. UFC fighters reimagined as video game characters. Which of mine did you think were the best? And if they weren't good, which ones would you change? Let me know in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you get notified of all my videos. Even the shorts are funny. Alright, you UFC freaks. Until next time.